Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm Helen with ADU1, part of One Structural. Our divisions are Retrofit 1, ADU1, and Balcony 1. So we're here to help you with all of your building's needs, basically. Any mandates or any extra income sources, just come to us. Today we will be doing, we will be continuing our City Spotlight series, and we will be doing today's webinar on West Hollywood. Even if your property is not in West Hollywood, most of these rules still apply to you. If there's anything very specific to West Hollywood, I will point that out, which does a couple of things. But at this rate, it's cohesive with a lot of the ADU rules across many cities. So I will share my screen so we can go over the West Hollywood Municipal Code. I'll help explain a lot of it. And if you have any questions at any time, please enter it in the chat, which I think is on the right of your view. And I will try to take a little peek every now and then in case there are any. Otherwise, I will get to them after I share my screen. And after the ADU portion, I'll also provide a segment about the new SB 326 and SB 721 laws regarding the mandatory balcony inspections and repairs across all of California. And this is for any condo owners, HOAs, condo communities, as well as any apartment building with 3 or more units that has to have their balconies inspected. So please make sure you stick around to hear about that and what you have to do, timelines, deadlines, and so forth. So right, I will go ahead and share my screen. All right, I believe you should be able to see this. Let me try to enlarge the font. If this is a little better. Yeah, there we go. So this is just directly, if you even just Google West Hollywood accessory dwelling units, you'll be able to pull up their municipal code. They've had this now, I believe maybe since 2020 or early 2021, something like that. So I will go over this regarding both single family homes and multifamily properties and what West Hollywood allows for both. So let's see. All right, so regarding single family homes and the ADU rules, you can do one ADU on a single family property or parcel. And it can either be, let's see, conversion of. And that's interesting. It's saying only one ADU and junior ADU. The reason just I'm pausing a little bit is to make sure, because normally you can have both. So as we go through these, I'm just going to try to pull if West Hollywood will still allow you to do both. I have yet to see any city restrict either one or the other, but we'll find out from here. But the regular rules anyways for single family homes, no matter what city you're in, is that you are permitted up to one ADU, whether that's detached, attached, conversion, new construction. And normally you're also allowed to do what's called a junior ADU, which I'll get into a little bit as the city describes the rules. However, as far as regular ADUs go, for single family homes, you can do one. It does require its own exterior entrance. And of course has to have efficient side and rear setbacks. Now this is just describing that you are permitted one detached new construction ADU on a lot. This isn't in addition to. This is, again, you can either convert a garage, for example, and that will count as your one ADU, or you can do a detached new construction and that will count as your one ADU for single family lots. Okay, now I understand what they're saying. I sometimes freeze when I'm live, but I fully understand what they're saying. So as far as conversion goes, you can only do an ADU or the junior ADU. You can't convert, for example, an attached garage as your ADU and convert another space as your junior ADU. If you do want to use both, since you are allowed to do both for single family homes, your ADU has to be detached. So that's pretty consistent with what I see across most cities. So the thing with the junior ADUs, which we'll get into a little bit more, but I'll just explain anyways. Junior ADUs, you are capped at 500 square feet, and there are owner occupancy laws surrounding them. So the owner of the house has to live in either the home or the junior ADU. So normally when you're doing a junior ADU, it's also cannot be new construction. The junior ADU has to be part of the existing dwelling space, or it could be an attached garage to conversion, but the junior ADU can only be a conversion. So in this case in West Hollywood, they're saying if you're going to do a conversion, it can only be one or the other. If you do want to do both, your ADU has to be detached away from your house, and then you can do a conversion for your junior ADU. And there are some limitations. It has to be 100 square feet or less, 16-foot height limit for your detached ADU. Conversions for multifamily buildings are still the same rules no matter where your property is. You're permitted at least one conversion. So for multifamily properties, again, you can do attached or detached, just like single family. The only configuration that you can't do, which single families can, you cannot do new construction and attach it to your building. You can do this for single family homes. You would do new construction, attach it to the structure, and that's what's considered attached. However, for multifamily buildings, you can't. And duplexes to 7 units, you can do one type of internal conversion. So think of this as tuck under parking, storage rooms, rec rooms, basements with sufficient ceiling height. Though that's what your attached is basically used as for conversions in multifamily properties. The 25% rule really kicks in once you have 8 units or more. If you have an 8-unit multifamily building with tuck under parking, you can technically convert the tuck under parking into at least or to maximum 2 ADUs. If you have a 12-unit building with tuck under parking, you can convert that tuck under parking into 3 ADUs. You can do different configurations. If you have tuck under parking and rec rooms or storage rooms, you can convert as many or as little square footage as you'd like. Well, not as you'd like. There are some limits, but I mean, you can utilize the space, like the storage room and maybe just a portion of the tuck under into within however many you're allowed to do under the 25% rule. So let's say you have a 12-unit building with tuck under parking and a storage room. You can convert the storage room into one ADU and either all of the tuck under into the other 2 or just part of it. So within that 25% rule, you can use those internal conversion spaces for your ADUs. Detached ADUs on a multifamily lot, you can do up to 2 ADUs as long as they're detached and have a minimum building separation. It's usually 6, but I'll see if West Hollywood has more. I don't think they do, but we'll see. 4-foot side and rear setbacks, and you have a max of 800 square feet. So although it does not say it here on the municipal code, I was corresponding with a West Hollywood planner recently, and he stated that you can only do one configuration for multifamily properties. So you can only do attached or detached. I still want to confirm that since it is not in writing and it's not in their code. So I'm looking into this to see, is West Hollywood a one configuration only, or will they allow both? So as of, I think it was a few weeks ago, the planner said you have to choose. But again, I'm still looking into this to see if it is one or the other. If it is, that means you can, if you convert the tuck under, for example, and you can only choose one configuration, you cannot do also the up to 2 detached. And if you do your detached, you cannot convert internal space. So this is actually what a lot of cities are doing. So I wouldn't be surprised if West Hollywood was also adopting this. But just with me, since it's not in writing, I just want to confirm it a little further. Let's see. Junior ADUs are never permitted in a multifamily property. So pretty much just going to assume that. I know it does say here, it does talk about it, but again, I've never seen junior ADUs be permitted in any multifamily property, so I'm not sure why they're even using this. I'll confirm again with them, But I'm pretty sure even in the state handbook, which all of these laws are derived from the state handbook, the state handbook does not allow junior ADUs for multifamily buildings. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what you label them for multifamily properties, especially when you're able to do multiple of them anyways. That's really just relevant for single family homes when you want to get that second ADU. That's when you can use a junior ADU. If you're only permitted one, if you have a duplex and you can only do one ADU, it doesn't matter really what you call it. So it's irrelevant. So I don't really have to check on this, but you are not permitted, nor would you want it to be permitted because junior ADUs have the owner occupancy requirement. And most multifamily properties, or a lot of them, are investor done. So you would not want to live in your building or have to live in the junior ADU either. So it's honestly irrelevant on whether or not they are, nor would you really want them to be permitted. So let's see. Sizing. So West Hollywood, the size, they have a minimum of 220 square feet for your ADU or junior ADU, whether it's multifamily or single family. 220 is a pretty common one across the state. So in case you're watching and your property is not in West Hollywood, 220 is pretty common. There's also 150 that is also pretty common as well. So the minimum is usually 150 or 220 across the state. A detached unit has a max of 1,200 square feet. And this case is telling you an attached ADU is limited to 50% of the floor area of your existing attached primary dwelling. This is normally the case for new construction that you're attaching to a house. So if you have a 1,200 square foot house and you're building something and attaching it to the home, you can only do 600 square feet, up to 50% of that floor area, and so forth. I usually ignore when they kind of break it down into, so they're saying here 850 max for a studio or one bedroom, but 1,200 max if you have two bedrooms. So I just look at the two bedroom, 1,200 square feet is your max, because we've never had anybody request a one bedroom, for example, at 1,000 or 1,200 square feet. It just doesn't make any sense, at least from an investment standpoint. West Hollywood does cap, this is something very specific to West Hollywood because most cities do not have this cap. No more than two bedrooms in any ADU. So that is something very specific to West Hollywood, which I, again, very rarely see that in other cities. There's some issues with that I won't get into right now, but this is what West Hollywood is saying. You do have a cap at two bedrooms, 1,200 square feet. And again, JADUs cannot exceed 500. And they're just saying no rules, pretty much any open space requirements, your floor area ratios, lot coverage requirements, none of that can prohibit the development of an ADU if it would make it less than 800 square feet. So those, like a lot coverage or FAR requirement, may prohibit you from doing like a 1,200 square foot ADU, which you would have to follow. But you don't have to follow it if you're doing 800 square feet or less. Fire sprinklers, the same across California. They're only required if fire sprinklers are needed in your primary building. Rental term cannot be for less than 30 days. Oh, interesting. Or in this case, in West Hollywood, it's subject to any restrictions that is for all of the residential dwelling units in the city, which I wonder if it's safe to assume short-term rentals or not. Here we go. And this is just about the owner occupancy. It's only required for junior ADUs, not the ADU. I'm just going to scroll back here. Again, 4-foot setback side and rear. This applies to new construction. Height. This is something very specific to West Hollywood. There is a 16 feet height limit, and they only allow single-story ADUs, period. Whether it's attached or detached, West Hollywood only allows single-story. And I know some cities like LA, for example, you can do a little bit of subterranean as long as you are within the 16-foot height from grade to like top plate of your roof. West Hollywood doesn't matter, single story only. Parking, pretty much this is the same all across California, wherever your property is. The ADUs in this case are not requiring any off-street parking. And if you are converting a garage or a carport or any covered structure for the purpose of ADUs, you do not have to replace those parking spots. And it is permitted on historical properties in West Hollywood. Here we go, the Secretary of Interior Standards. These are design standards for historical properties for West Hollywood and other cities as well, that we would of course follow when designing your ADU. So if you are in a historical property, you are still permitted to do it, but there are certain design standards there. So that is pretty much it for West Hollywood's ADUs for single family and multifamily areas. Just to recap, single family homes, you can do one ADU. If you are going to be doing a junior ADU as well, then you are permitted two. The junior ADU must be part of the existing home, maximum 500 square feet with owner occupancy. So the owner has to live in either the main house or the junior ADU. And if you do a junior ADU, which has to be part of the existing structure, your ADU cannot also be attached. It has to be detached from the property. This is pretty similar across the board, across California for these rules. Multifamily properties, you can do under the attached rule, which really only means internal conversion. No new construction stuck to the structure is permitted. You can do up to 25% of your existing number of units, which again really only takes effect after 8 units. So duplex to 7 units can do 1 internal conversion for attached. 8 units to 11 can do 2, 12 and up can do 3, and so forth. 15 and up, you get the picture. Under the 25% rule, which again are conversions of tuck under parking, attached garages, attached carports, storage rooms, rec rooms, basements, as long as it has sufficient ceiling height, and so forth. You can do up to 2 detached for multifamily properties, but again, I am still confirming with West Hollywood, since a planner did recently let us know that West Hollywood only permits 1 configuration, either attached or detached. It's not in their municipal code, so I'm just going to try to get that in writing, or when and where they develop this. So if that's the case, you can only do the internal conversions or detached. You can't do both. So I will see with that one. Parking, you pretty much don't have to worry about parking rules as long as you're within a half mile of public transit, or if you're converting a garage or carport, you don't have to replace parking. So that's basically it for the ADUs. Our company covers the plans that you need, so your engineering plans, your structural, architectural design, the permit expediting with the city. So we submit to the city for you, we can pull permits for you, and of course we do the full scope construction, and we include finishes, fixtures, all of that. And this is our number, there we go, right here for the ADUs, but you can also reach all of our departments. I'll briefly just speak about seismic retrofitting. If your building still needs seismic retrofitting, which is of course in the soft story area, the tuck under parking, you can do the seismic retrofitting and your ADUs at the same time. So we can do that together. If you've already done your retrofitting, that's no problem. If you have steel columns there, we could usually, in the design, put them in the walls and the structure of the ADU. If you have not done it, we can use other elements such as shear walls and stuff like that in the ADU, or we can still use steel. So that's just something there. The next segment that I want to get into is about balcony inspections, the mandatory balcony inspections per SB 326, which is for condos and HOA communities, and SB 721, which is for apartment buildings with 3 or more units. This was developed in 2019, and this has to do with all exterior elevated elements, meaning exterior protruding balconies, stairways, walkways, catwalks. Even if you have a recessed balcony, its handrails even have to still be inspected. This was created because a few years ago, a balcony in Berkeley collapsed and a lot of students passed away. And that was the inner structure, like the flashings and the joists, I believe, had a lot of water damage, and it caused the balcony to collapse. So what we check for during these inspections, we do a visual inspection as well as some like minimally invasive testing with certain moisture meters we have, and camera that detects moisture as well. We can put a small hole underneath and on the top to see really inside of these decks and balconies and your walkways to see if there's any water damage there. We check all of the components, and we provide to you a full report based on everything that we checked. So this is what you have to have done. These types of inspections. If the report shows any, imminent danger to your tenants, we have to give you your report faster. And of course, those repairs have to be done. If there's just some damage, it's not imminent danger or anything like that, you have a different timeline to get that one piece repaired, or whatever we found, but that's all explained in the report. And these reports are what you have to keep with you every cycle of these inspections. For apartment buildings under SB 721, you only have to have 15% of those elements or per element inspected. So you have to have 15% of your balconies inspected, 15% of your walkways inspected, 15% of your stairways inspected. So it's 15% of each element that qualifies, that it has to be 6 feet above ground. And again, exterior protruding out of the building. So you have to have 15% of those inspected, and that's what will be in your report. Of course, if we visually see something with, significant water damage or something severe, we would focus on those and recommend what else to inspect. HOAs and condos under SB 326 is a little different. We have to have, I believe it's 95% certainty of all of your elements. So we go through all of that with you for what we have to inspect, how many of each, and so forth. So that's basically it for SB 326 and SB 721. Have to get those inspected, and it's highly recommended to get them taken care of ASAP, especially if you can already visually see some water damage, cracks, anything like that for these elements. Again, they have to be elements that are 6 feet above ground, and they're exterior elements protruding out of the building. And even if they're not, but they have handrails, you have to get those inspected as well. So our number for that is fairly simple, 323 balcony, or you can still reach, and we're all the same team. You can call us here too, but I will go ahead and put this in the chat, 323 balcony. And our website for that is balcony1.com. So you can reach us there, balcony1.com, as well as ADU1.com for our ADUs. And we also do seismic retrofitting as well. They all kind of tie in together, which is why we're really able to provide all of these services. So give us a call. You can reach any of us at really any of our numbers. It all goes to the same place. So thank you for watching. That does it for ADU1 City Spotlight for West Hollywood and our balcony inspection segment. Please call us or email us or contact us through our websites if you have any other questions. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.